You think you know your hometown, right? The same old streets, the stories you've heard a million times. But what if I told you that just under the surface, there's a whole other story? A history that's way deeper, a lot darker, and honestly, way more fascinating than you could ever imagine. Today, that's what we're doing. We're pulling back the curtain on Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, we're gonna start with the spooky stuff. The things that go bump in the night. But what if those ghost stories aren't the end of the story? What if they're just the beginning? Kind of like ghostly breadcrumbs leading us down a rabbit hole of government conspiracies, honest-to-God real-life monsters, and a secret so big, it literally changed the entire course of human history. All right, so let's start with what you can see. The tip of the iceberg. We're talking about the stories Dayton is famous for. Its hauntings. Okay, first stop, a place that's seen its fair share of drama, both on and off the stage. The historic Victoria Theater. I mean, this place has seen curtains fall on more than just plays. And its most famous resident? Not some current movie star. Nope, it's a ghost they call Vicky. The story goes she was an actress who, one night back in the early 1900s, just vanished, walked right off stage and into legend. And listen to this, the stories aren't just some vague, I felt a cold spot kind of thing. No, they are incredibly specific. People don't just feel a presence. They smell a very distinct rose perfume out of nowhere. They hear the unmistakable rustle of a taffeta dress on a completely empty stage. And get this, some people swear they've seen her face appear in a dressing room mirror. And she's not alone. There's also this other much sadder spirit, a man who died in the theater back in the 50s. They say his face sometimes appears like an image right on the main curtain. Chilling. So we're going from a very public theater to a very private home. This is the Patterson Homestead. It was built way back in 1816 for one of Ohio's most powerful families. And the thing is, according to a lot of people, some of them just never got around to leaving.
I mean, the stuff that happens here is all over the map. We're talking full-bodied apparitions, like people see Colonel Robert Patterson himself, clear as day, in his old Revolutionary War uniform. You get these phantom smells, like a full dinner cooking, coming from a kitchen that hasn't made a meal in decades. And of course, you've got the classics, rocking chairs that move all on their own, the sound of kids laughing when no one's there. It's a full house, to put it mildly.
But, of all the paranormal tales, I think my favorite one has to be this one from Woodland Cemetery. It's this really touching story about a little 5-year-old boy, Johnny Morehouse, and his dog. It's a story about a bond so strong, a loyalty so powerful, that people say it left a living echo right there in the stone.
And this is where it gets really cool, because this is where legend and reality just collide. So the legend says that if you place your hand right by the statue of the dog's nose, you can actually feel it breathing, still waiting for its master. And people absolutely swear they feel it. But the reality? Well, it's just as amazing. Turns out, the sculptor was a total engineering genius. To stop the marble from cracking with the weather, he built this tiny little air vent right through the stone. And where does that vent exit? Yep, right through the dog's nostrils. So you're feeling a real current of air. It's a ghost story solved by brilliant science.
Okay, so Dayton's secrets aren't all buried 6 feet under. Not even close. Some of them are hidden way up miles above us, in the sky. See, Dayton's connection to flight is way more than just the Wright brothers. It's also ground zero for one of the biggest, most famous conspiracy theories in American history. Oh yeah, you've probably heard of this one, the legend of Hangar 18. It is a classic. The story goes that alien bodies from the Roswell crash were secretly flown to a hidden hangar at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to be studied. That's the legend. The official reality? Well, the Air Force says, there is no Hangar 18. They say the Roswell stuff was just debris from a top-secret high-altitude balloon project, and they point out that their own big UFO investigation, Project Blue Book, which was run right there at the base, found absolutely zero evidence of aliens. But you know how it is. The myth is just too good to die. But look, Hangar 18 is not the whole story, not by a long shot. The skies over Ohio have been, let's just say, very busy for a long time. I'm talking about police deputies chasing flying discs for nearly 100 miles, military helicopter crews having close encounters with weird, cigar-shaped craft. And this is not just ancient history. As recently as 2024, they had to shut down the airspace over the base because of unidentified drones. So, yeah,
Something is definitely up there, even if it's not little green men.
All right, but maybe the scariest monsters in Dayton's history didn't come from another world, or even the afterlife. And I have to warn you, the tone is gonna shift here. Because these monsters, they were chillingly, horribly real.
There are two names that cast a really long, dark shadow over the city's history. First, there's the Dayton Strangler. This was an unknown killer who terrorized the city for almost 10 years at the start of the 20th century and was never, ever caught. Then, decades later, you have Neil Long, known as the Shotgun Slayer. He went on a rampage that lasted years, randomly targeting and murdering black men.
And the reality behind his crimes is just horrifying. This isn't some deep mystery. It's a motive born of pure, ugly hate. When they finally caught Neil Long, he confessed. He said his motivation was outrage over desegregation. Just brutal, simple racism. This wasn't some phantom in the dark. This was a man, a real person, fueled by hate.
Okay, so we've covered ghosts, we've covered UFOs, and we've covered real-life monsters. But now we get to the very bottom of the iceberg, the hidden foundation. This is a secret that didn't just haunt Dayton. It completely reshaped the world as we know it. It's wild because Dayton has this strange duality when it comes to innovation. On one hand, you have these incredible world-changing inventions, right? The airplane, the car self-starter, genius stuff. But that exact same creative spirit also gave us some of the most destructive things ever made. Think about it. Leaded gasoline, Freon, CFCs, all from the same Dayton engineer. And then there's that last one on the list, the trigger for the atomic bomb. Yeah, you heard that right. Hidden in plain sight, right in the middle of the city, in these totally normal-looking buildings, was something called the Dayton Project. It was an ultra-secret part of the Manhattan Project, and their job? To create the initiator, the spark plug, basically, for the world's first atomic bombs. The level of secrecy was just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. Workers had no idea what they were really working on. They only knew their one tiny piece of the puzzle. One of the main labs was literally disguised as an army film studio. You had barbed wire fences, armed guards patrolling 24/7, all of this in the middle of a regular city neighborhood. And the core science using the element polonium for the trigger, that was so classified it stayed a secret until the 1960s, long after the war was over. But here's the final mind-blowing twist. After all that, all the fences, the armed guards, the crazy cover stories, the biggest secret in the world wasn't safe. The entire project had been compromised, from the inside, by a Soviet spy. And the craziest part is how easy it was for him. This guy, George Kaval, he was an American Army officer. His job title was Health Physics Officer, which gave him two things: top secret clearance and the perfect excuse to go anywhere and everywhere. He could walk into any lab, look over anyone's shoulder, ask any question he wanted, all under the guise of safety. He basically strolled right out the front door with the complete recipe for the atomic trigger and just handed it over to his Soviet handlers. And the impact of this was staggering. American intelligence was completely blindsided when the Soviets tested their first atomic bomb, years ahead of schedule. They had no idea how they did it so fast. It took until 2007, decades later, for Russia to finally come clean and admit it. The intelligence that George Kaval stole from Dayton had shaved several years off their atomic bomb program. So think about where we started. We went from a ghost in a theater to a spy who literally changed the balance of the Cold War. When you look at it, Dayton's hidden history is kind of like a miniature version of the entire 20th century, isn't it? It's a story of incredible genius, deep, shadowy fears, and secrets that changed everything. And it really makes you wonder, right? If you dig just a little bit deeper, what kind of secrets is your own hometown hiding?